In this edition of SSPT's Game Day Analysis, I'm going to tackle the 66 kilo weight class from the 2023 IPF Classic World Championships in Malta. This was without question the strongest collection of 66 kilo lifters we have ever seen. We've got three guys battling it out for those top three spots. American newcomer and Brian Lee is the strongest guy on paper. We've got the charismatic Japanese lifter in Kyota Ushiyama, who's fresh off his Sheffield performance. And then, of course, we've got the return of the French sensation, the one and only Pana, who's trying to do what only two other 66 kilo lifters have ever done before. We've got a world record in play in the deadlift and lots of action coming up. Meanwhile, if you're interested in learning more about how SSPT and I do game day coaching, check out my game day coaching manual in the link below. Meanwhile, sit back, relax, enjoy the analysis. Drop a like, a comment, share the video, and thank you so much for watching. Okay, taking a look at our nominations as we usually do. As I mentioned in the intro, this is without question the strongest collection of 66 kilo lifters we have ever seen at a Classic World Championships. The top four lifters have all totaled 700 kilos or more at one point in time. The third ranked lifter from Thailand, Mr. Kasamsand Sunamong, is currently the world record holder, going into this competition with a world record total of 710.5 kilos, while Kyota Ushiyama of Japan and Brian Lee have both totaled more. They did so at their respective national championships, and therefore their higher totals do not count as world records. They were, if you want to call them, unofficial world records. Meanwhile, we have French sensation and essentially the leader of the French Revolution, if you want to call it that, Pana Tarinidis, who won IPF Worlds in this weight class in 2021 and is coming off of some difficult setbacks, and he is currently ranked fourth. However, having said all of that, we are going to focus our efforts, our attention, I should say, on Brian Lee, Kyota Ushiyama, and Pana. Unfortunately, Kasamsand did not have a good competition and, quite frankly, was not relevant in his race for the podium. Therefore, we are going to focus all of our action on the other three lifters. Okay, as usual, let's dive into our scouting report for the three lifters that we mentioned we were going to focus our attention on. Let's begin with the man with the biggest total. On paper, the strongest man in the room, Brian Lee of America. He is a newcomer. He's got little to none, quite frankly, of big game experience other than competing at Powerlifting America Nationals in Austin, Texas. He's never traveled overseas to compete. Notably, his squat was pretty easy at Powerlifting America Nationals, the 242.5, and he ended up passing his third bench press and was still able to secure the W. He's got a huge deadlift for this weight class at 318.5 kilos, so without question, with that 300 kilo world record deadlift is definitely in jeopardy. He's got that in his sights. So again, on paper, the strongest guy in the room. Number two, we've got Kyota Ushiyama, who competed at the Sheffield, and only 1 week before competing at the Sheffield, just balled out at the Japan Nationals, hit a huge total of 712.5, and then, of course, had a drop-off in performance at Sheffield, only going 5 for 9. But if you notice, his numbers are strikingly similar to Brian Lee. I mean, their squats are almost identical. He's got a little bit more in the bench and then falls off just a little bit in the deadlift, but not too much. So potentially he can use a world record chip in the deadlift as well. And then, of course, in third place here on nominated total kind of, but, you know, certainly not least is Pana Tarinidis, the French sensation. He's got a bigger squat number than these other two guys, and a comparable, maybe a little bit even with Kyota in the bench press. But then his deadlift drops off. But what he's got is he's got that moxie. He is a returning IPF World Champion from 2021, without question, the most experienced lifter in the group. Battle tested. He's been through it all. He's seen the highs. He's seen the lows. No chip advantage whatsoever in any discipline. He's just got to build a total and just make lifts. This guy is not called the grind king for nothing. He can grind for days. So it's really deceiving to determine how much he has left in the tank. But suffice it to say, that's our scouting report. And this is going to turn out to be an exciting battle. So let's take a look at the totals on Prognosis and then dive into the action. Here is our start list, also known as the Prognosis or forecasted total. This includes the openers, the body weights, the lot numbers, all of that inventory that game day coaches must take at the start of competition. So we're going to have Kyota opening up as the lightest squatter, but not by much, at 225 kilos. He is currently forecasted in third place based on his openers. Brian Lee forecasted in first place based on openers. Looks like he's going to open up with a world record deadlift. The world record in the deadlift is currently 300 kilos. He has selected 300.5, hence the weird total number there of 678. And then certainly, last but not least, we've got Pana. Now Pana, while he's opening the heaviest in the squat, he is also the heaviest on body weight and does not have lot number advantage. Really not a big deal for him because he's going to wind up pulling first and before these three gentlemen. As you can see, he's got the lightest deadlift opener. He's got the weakest deadlift. So for him, the key is just making lifts, building a total, and trying to make these other guys uncomfortable. But again, the nominations don't always hold true to form, and the Prognosis total or forecasted total means very little, especially in a battle that is this tight. So without any further ado, let's dive into the action. Beginning with the squats, we've got Kyota Ushiyama opening on 225 kilos, 496. Nice deep squat. Nails it and gets the lift. Brian Lee is opening at 230, 507 pounds. Breaks parallel. Nice and easy for Brian. He is in the competition. Finally, we've got Pana, who is opening at 235 kilos, 518 pounds. This is the grind king. Undeniable depth. Uses a lot of lower back, but gets out of the hole. Coming up on second squats, Kyota takes a big jump, 17.5 kilos to 242. Has that quick descent, struggles coming out of the hole. I think that's a product of the huge jump that he took. We've got Brian Lee on his second attempt, and he makes quick work of that. That's a 242.5. And then, of course, we've got Pana here on 247.5. Really struggles mightily with that, but is able to grind out of it. And coming up on the third and final attempts, we're going to start with Kyota. Pana is excited. 2 for 2. We've got Kyota coming out now for 247.5 kilos. That's 545 pounds. So just a small jump. He took a really big jump from first to second. Has that quick descent, really fights and grinds. How much is that going to take off of his deadlift? We will look forward to seeing that when the bar hits the floor. He's excited. Brian coming out for his third and final attempt. Small jump. This would be a PB for Brian. 247.5 kilos and just can't get through the sticking point. And finally, we've got Pana, who takes a small jump as well, 252.5 kilos, buries it deep, and then just says, nope, not going to grind this one out. Now we're heading into the bench press. This is Brian's weakest event. He opens on 147.5, makes it. And of course, Pana who's a little bit better bencher, opening on 165 kilos, 363 pounds. Not as crisp as I would usually like it. Same with Kyota here at 165 kilos. Both of them kind of slow, sticky openers. Now we've got Brian settling in on 152 and a half, 336 pounds. And kind of sticky there at the top. Not sure how much he's going to have left. We've got Pana on his second attempt at 170, so he just took the 5 kilo jump. Same with Kyota, kind of matching each other here in the bench press on 170 kilos. All right, we've got Brian coming out for his last one at 155, 341, and that's going to prove to be just too much for him. So he's missed his third squat now and his third bench. Pana's coming out for the third bench at 172.5, 380 pounds. Gets the pause. Looked like kind of a quick pause, but was able to grind that out. Good lift for Pana. And then finally, Kyoto's going after him on the same number because he has lot number advantage and just not able to finish. Let's take a look at the standings at Subtotal. Currently, your leader is Pana Tarinidis of France with a 420 kilo subtotal, having missed his third squat. So he's missed one lift, but he's still in the lead at 420 kilos. Right on his heels, only 2.5 kilos behind, and lighter, has the bodyweight advantage, also has lot number over Pana. At 417.5 kilos is Kyota Ushiyama of Japan. And 25 kilos back is Brian Lee with a 395 kilo subtotal. He missed 2 squats. So not the cleanest competition for any of these gentlemen, quite frankly. But it looks like, based on some of these misses, it's going to become a battle of attrition here. And I'm concerned with Pana missing his third squat, but also Brian missing his third squat. What kind of role is that going to play in deadlift attempt selection and deadlift success rates? As we know, the statistics show that approximately 43% of powerlifters miss their third squat and about 50% miss their third deadlift, while 24, so almost a quarter of the competition, miss both their third squat and third deadlift. And those are presumably the 2 biggest total building attempts, for powerlifters who aren't one-off bench specialists. So this is about to get really tight and really interesting. But as usual, we're considering the standings at Subtotal, but also we'd be remiss if we didn't look at what the prognosis is. In other words, these lifters have not yet secured a total and are basically, their totals are going to count once they secure their opening deadlift. And as we can see, based on the opening round of deadlifts, we're going to have a shakeup in the standings. Pana, who's currently in first place, is going to drop to third after openers. So this is about to get really interesting, really tight. So let's move on and check out the action for the deadlifts. Pana's up first with 270 kilos, 595 pounds. And he is in the competition with a comfortable opener. Kyota is opening at 275, double overhand hook grip. And Brian has a huge deadlift opener, opening with a world record of 300.5. Tough for an opening attempt. Quite frankly, that's closer to a second attempt in terms of his strength potential. Pana coming out for his second takes a big jump to 285 kilos, and he grinds through that one, but is going to force the hand of the opposition. So now we've got Kyota on 292.5. Once again, double overhand hook grip. Sets up. Not the most tidy, and you can tell that his knees aren't locked and don't meet the standard. So while he got one red light, that lift was eventually overturned. You can see the blinking scoreboard in the background. Now Brian jumps up 12 kilos. This is his second attempt. Appears to be suffering from a little bit of cramping. And yeah, that bar just kind of drifted away from him, got out in front of him. Pana goes up for his third and final deadlift attempt. This is 292.5 kilos. Setting up. He is currently in the lead, takes his third deadlift. It gets to about the knees, and he just can't grind through. So now these other two lifters have an opportunity. We've got Kyota, again, at 292.5, essentially retaking his second attempt, and about the same thing. This one you can definitely tell now his knees are not locked. So that is a no lift. He misses his second and third deadlift. This is just unbelievable. These supreme deadlift specialists, if you will, are just failing in the deadlift. Now, Brian's coming out on 312.5. If he makes this lift, which he just missed on his second attempt, he will secure the victory over Pana. So he has got all of the advantage. Everything's right in his favor. All he has to do is pull this lift, and he's just not able to do it. Pana is your IPF world champion for the second time, standing atop of the medal stand, celebrating with the rest of the world, and an exciting victory for Team France and Mr. Pana Tarinidis, two-time IPF world champion. Okay, let's take a look at our final standings here. A lot to discuss, a lot to discern and unravel and chew on. Pana Tarinidis of France is your 2023 IPF Classic World Champion in the 66 kilo class with a 705 kilo total. And if you look at this score sheet, there's a lot of red up there, particularly in the deadlift. This truly turned into a battle of attrition. And we talk about this all the time. The nominations do not always hold true to form. You have to go out and execute. You have to make lifts. You have to select appropriate attempts. And, you know, Pana went 7 for 9. Brian only made 5 lifts. And Kyota made 6. And it just turned out that Pana, while certainly not being the strongest on paper, you know, it's an axiom for powerlifting when we say that powerlifting does not determine who is the strongest, but it determines who is the best powerlifter. And undoubtedly, Pana was the best powerlifter on this day. He went 7 for 9. He made the lifts when he had to. He forced the issue a little bit there with a big second deadlift of 285 kilos, took a big jump, which was really, quite frankly, there's a lot of risk associated with that because he took a really big jump from 270 to 285. It's not that it's a big jump in terms of his total strength and his aptitude in the deadlift. Certainly at that strength range, you can jump 15 kilos from first to second. It was just an aggressive move on his behalf. And I guess, you know, look, he and his coaching staff potentially saw something in the other competitors that you can't always glean through a live stream or a score sheet, and made his move and forced the others to, you know, to lift. I mean, look, the issue with Kyota was he took a 17.5 kilo jump from his first to second deadlift. And had he made his second deadlift, that would have put him on a 710 kilo total. And, you know, the weight moved well, but it was just a little bit untidy. And then, of course, the second lift got overturned. He wasn't able to lock his knees, and it was really obvious on the third one. You know, he had a 2-to-1 decision go in his favor on the second one there, but then the jury overturned it, and then the third one was just unquestionably no good, and was quite obvious there that he didn't lock his knees. So I know that he's probably, you know, really hating himself, so to speak, in terms of just not being able to perform in the deadlift. You know, he had potentially a world championships there, a first place finish with would have finished on 710 kilos, but just wasn't able to close the deal, missing 2 deadlifts. And at this level, you are not going to win an IPF World Championships with only 1 successful deadlift. And the same can be said with Brian Lee. When we look at his scorecard up here, without question, Brian came in nominated as the top ranked lifter with a 713.5 kilo nominated total. But again, has never competed internationally, has never been in subjected to this scrutiny of judging and so forth. And flat out missed, his third squat. It was too much, too heavy, and the third bench there. And I questioned the attempt selection, certainly a little bit on the bench there. Potentially could have opened a little bit lighter and then just, taken a little bit less to try to build the total. And really, it all comes down to this deadlift. And quite frankly, I'm shocked that he would open on 300.5 kilos. I don't care what your training said and that you were potentially projecting higher, but there's no reason whatsoever to swing for the fences and try to secure a deadlift chip advantage on your opening deadlift. First of all, you have the lot number advantage, which again is really not an issue because you're the strongest deadlifter in the room. So we can say, okay, you've got lot number advantage, but you have the all-important body weight advantage too, and you're pulling last. So there's no need to try to stack another ace card, in your favor. You don't need to gain a chip advantage and open with the world record in the deadlift. So I'm really surprised what his thought process was there, the thought process of the American national team coaches. I know that Brian had a friend there helping him, and I don't want to throw him under the bus. Don't know really, quite frankly, anything about his friend, but to my knowledge has little to no experience coaching at this level. And it's an egregious error by the national team coaches. You cannot let a lifter who is by far, or I shouldn't say by far, but is the strongest lifter in the room, and if all he's got to do is go out and execute, and you have this ultimate weapon, if you will, in such a huge deadlift where it's really undeniable that he's going to be pulling last, and you have him open on a world record. His PB was 318.5 kilos. So, the data say, that he should probably be opening at around 290 kilos. I mean, the 300.5, again, you didn't need the chip advantage on the first attempt. And quite frankly, at 94.3%, that's almost as heavy as a second attempt. So that really kind of just, burned up too much gas in his tank. And we saw by that time also when he was coming off the platform after his opener that he was starting to cramp in his hands. It was very evident on the live stream. And then they take this small jump to 312.5, and the bar got out in front of him, and he was on his toes on his second one. And then he just wasn't able to close the deal on his third one either, and just missing badly. And so this was, again, no disrespect whatsoever to Pana. He deserves the credit. He was the man in the arena. He came in there. He won in 2021. He didn't have a good showing last year. I believe he placed 5th in South Africa. It's well documented. He got sick the week of the meet. He's been overcoming injury, dealing with some family issues, sicknesses of his father. And for him to rise up from the ashes, so to speak, and come back, put together a really gritty 7 for 9 performance. And he's standing, at top of the medal stand. It's just a little disconcerting here that, Brian, who was the strongest lifter on paper, wasn't able to secure the W. And, I know that that's got to be frustrating for him, not being able to win a world championship. But let's hope that he learns from these errors and learns from the mistakes and is able to go back into the lab and, make some corrections. I don't know that there's a lot technically wrong with his lifts. I mean, from a technical perspective, he executed the lifts well, but I really think you need to take a deeper, harder look at attempt selection and strategy. And quite frankly, just come up with a better game plan, especially at the international level, where you are running into other alpha dogs, if you will, other guys who are used to, battling it out. You may not find that type of competition in the 66 kilo class at Powerlifting American Nationals, but you're certainly going to be up against it at an IPF World Championships, where you've got lifters who are, just about as strong as you from all over the world. And of course, you're having to bring your A game and travel overseas and do all of those things. And so anyway, I say none of that to try to throw him under the bus. I say it as an encouragement. I said, look, you took the silver medal, but it kind of feels, if you're in the Brian Lee camp, that this was a championship or an opportunity missed, a championship lost. And if you're Pana, you were able to grind through and pull out another gritty performance, and you've done now what only two other men at this weight class. He joins Charles Okpoko and Sergey Gladkick as now the third 66 kilo lifter who has won two IPF World Championships. And if Pana is able to come back in the years in the future here, he secured his ticket to Sheffield. Kyota was able to secure his wild card to Sheffield by virtue of the fact that he has the regional qualification there. So he is the regional representative from that region who is going to go to Sheffield. So we're going to see a battle again between Pana and Kyota at the Sheffield, and that'll be exciting. But back to what I was saying about Pana, if he is able to secure, quite frankly, at any time, a third IPF World Championship at 66 kilos, that puts him in the conversation with 3 titles at this weight class of the greatest 66 kilo classic lifter that we've seen. We talk about greatest of all time, and this is only the 11th Raw or Classic World Championships. But if he's able to secure a third one, then I think, he's beginning to, cement or secure his place in history, at least right now in current history and current time, as the greatest 66 kilo lifter that we've ever seen. But having said all that, this was an exciting competition. Once again, I want to thank White Lights Media for allowing me to use their pristine video footage. Check out their website, check out their Instagram. And as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Please feel free to drop a like, a comment, share the video, give me your own feedback, and stay tuned for the next one.